Nice to see you again, Levi.
Nice to meet you.
Okay.
Hi, great to see you. It's okay.
I just start.
Oh, okay.
Just put it down on the counter.
Good afternoon, executives of Pegasus Incorporated. My name is Julia, and together with my colleagues Levi and Brady, we are Net Impact Consulting. Now, you've come to us with this acquisition opportunity that you've gone forward with. And the main problem that we've diagnosed your situation with today is how can you take this acquisition opportunity and use it to propel you in the industry and go forward with a strategy that none of your competitors can duplicate. Now, a couple of secondary, so the two main components to the strategy that we're proposing today are to ensure increased internal efficiencies utilizing your lean operational management, and then of course increasing your revenue growth per year. A couple of other considerations that we have recognized both in between the two companies and within CallUp are the different corporate structures. So Pegasus, your company, is much more centralized, whereas theirs is more dispersed, as well as the unprofitable clients of CallUp. So this will be a consideration when you're looking to increase your profitability and maintain those revenues. And then also looking at the poor employee engagement at CallUp. A main strength of your company is the engagement of your employees and their ability to work as a team, and this does not carry forward at CallUp. Now, taking a look at a summary of our presentation today, as I said, the issue that you're faced with is how to best integrate this CallUp acquisition in order to maximize your profitability and continue those internal processes with the new acquisition. The solution that we're putting forward today is to act quickly by immediately transferring the Pegasus company culture to CallUp and implementing those lean operational systems. And the impact that you'll see through this strategy is internal transparency between the new acquisition and your existing employees at Pegasus, and those increased efficiencies leading to profitability. Now, we began by doing an internal analysis of Pegasus. Your main strengths that we really like to see are the financial prudence. You're not highly leveraged, which allows you some more flexibility in your processes, and your lean operational systems are something that no other competitor in the industry has been able to duplicate. And last, your high quality dealer and customer relationships. This is another thing that you exceed every other competitor on. And a couple of weaknesses that we will be mitigating are your inability to take on the larger clients, but by your acquisition of CallUp, you are fixing this weakness. And then as well, you have proven to be risk averse in your expansion projects. So we believe by acquiring CallUp, you are sort of diminishing your risk aversion, which is mitigating that. Now, we did a VRIO analysis on the different internal characteristics, and I'll just note your lean operational systems. It satisfies all 4 of the VRIO components, and it is your sustainable competitive advantage. So we're going to leverage this competitive advantage, and it's going to propel you in your industry and allow you to overtake every competitor. Now, looking at some of the internal issues that are seen at CallUp, there are a few. So they have not proven to be strong in customer service. This is something that you do very well. So by implementing your processes in their operations, you'll be able to fix that. I'll also note the low standardization across locations. This is the opposite of what you have at Pegasus. So there's going to be some turbulence in implementing your processes in their structure. And then the last, as we spoke of before, is the customer unprofitability. So by pruning their customer base, you're going to be able to maintain those revenues, but lower the costs, which will allow you to be more profitable in the future.
Okay, so our recommendation must fulfill these 3 metrics. The first one being increased profitability. We know that combining the 2 organizations is going to lead to increased revenues. We want to ensure that profitability remains high as well. Secondly, at CallUp, there's been weak employee engagement within there, and their employees aren't as well trained as yours, and we must address the situation moving forward. And lastly, we would like to optimize the customer portfolio to select the best clients that you need to pay your attention and time to. Next. Okay, so what attributes does this acquisition offer? Firstly, it brings you new clients. With this, you have new industries, namely manufacturing, as well as the hotel industry, and you have larger customers coming in with this acquisition as well. Another synergy provided by this acquisition is some cost reductions. Firstly, we are able to eliminate management level ownership. Now this could be HR functions and marketing functions. We can combine these two into one unit with the acquisition. And the cost reductions will also translate into optimizing call-up customer portfolio, and we will be able to kind of, we would like to kind of wean down their client base and just really hone in on their key clients, and that's why we acquired this company, for those key clients, and that's important to remember going forward. That is why we recommend a quick acquisition strategy with immediate transfer of the Pegasus culture and lean operational systems at CallUp. This will give a clear direction to the entire organization, and this will be facilitated by initial round dismissals and cuts across the company. Now, more about lean culture. There'll be 2 call-up centers shut down, and there'll be centralized control of all call center branches. Currently, the vice presidents in CallUp are controlling each branch, and we want to kind of centralize this, similar to Pegasus, and have one vice president in control of the 5 remaining branches. Also, in lean culture, we want to take advantage of a more selected client base and really hone in on those customers, as I mentioned. So another alternative that we looked at was adopting a slow transition and to ensure Pegasus' current operations are not affected. So with this, all call-up branches will remain open for 1 year. It will allow for the utilization of employees for the year rather than paying severance costs. In your agreements, it is specified that the employees must be on contract for the whole year. So this alternative would keep them working instead of just being fired and being paid out. In this alternative, the VPs would retain autonomy over their branches for the upcoming year. But some downfalls of this include sluggish integration of company culture. Because CallUp is such a larger company than Pegasus, it would be difficult to integrate a new culture when there's much more employees remaining at CallUp. Additionally, do not adequately prune CallUp's current clientele with this strategy, and it would not adequately reduce overhead costs.
So now that we know what the strategy is that we're going to be using going forward, here are the action steps that are really going to be critical to its success. Now the first is in the immediate term. So you have from May until August when you don't necessarily have control of the company, so while we're remaining within legal bounds, it's going to be important to address these few things. First, establishing a lead for the acquisition, which we're going to appoint to be Mary, and as well as assessing the talent pool at CallUp. Which executives are dismissible, which ones are key to its success. Then the next first 100 days, which are very critical to the success of an acquisition. So that's going to involve pruning some employees away from different centers, looking at which customers you're going to be looking at retaining, as well as merging the head offices into one head office to create synergies and reduce fixed overhead costs. At the end of year 1, you're looking at the transfer of the Pegasus culture, and this is going to be really critical. One of the most important aspects of your company and one of the reasons for success is the culture that you have instilled within the employees, their motivation on the phones, and the profitability that's resulting from that. So being able to transfer that over to the CallUp locations is going to be very important. It is going to be really focused upon throughout the first year, but particularly at the end here. As well as implementing those lean operational systems. That's the other key to your success. Those lean operational systems allow for greater profitability and reduced costs, which helps the bottom line, of course. Looking at year 2, we're going to be looking at customer portfolio optimization. So this is pruning some of the less profitable customers, and that's going to be kind of the focus from that point on going forward. So taking a deeper look into it, immediate term, what are you going to do right off the bat going forward? First, we would suggest hiring Mary, kind of transitioning her into a role over the next year to kind of head up this acquisition. Now, she's been critical to your operational success over recent years and is going to be instrumental in the installment of your operational tendencies into those call-up locations. So having her shift over into more of a role over call-up, and then having Alan take over her current role, or a large portion of her current role with Pegasus in the interim until she can come back, just to ensure that Pegasus is able to operate efficiently and effectively just as they always have. Again, another key thing to do from May to August is to create a position for Lionel and Paula Massey. Now, our suggestion is to appoint them as customer relations directors. This would enable them to continue to contact customers. They're kind of the connector between the customer base and the company. A key to the success of this acquisition is maintaining the customers. Now, 10 of their 80 customers represent 70% of their overall business. So retaining those customers is very critical. Putting them as the head of that customer relations directors is important at this time. So during this time, they would largely be contacting those customers, communicating to them the transition from call-up towards more of a Pegasus model. This is going to be leaner, it's more operationally efficient, and the benefits that their customers will be able to see as a result of this. So that's going to be very critical from the May to August to kind of prepare the customers and keep the previous owners within the mix still. As well, your executive team at Pegasus is going to be evaluating the current executives at call-up. Which ones are expendable, which ones are critical to a success. Evaluating which ones need to stay, which ones need to go, because on August 1st, we anticipate making changes right off the bat. So looking at that, August 15th. So looking at that August 15th date, our recommendation, this is what the executive team will be looking like on August 15th. So we have 3 executives being let go, with the ones being kept being Michel Lemaire, we suggest as an operations director for the call-up locations. So he would be working closely with Mary in preparing the locations for the new, and training the locations for the new operational changes that will be going on within them. So that is our proposed change for Michel, as well as Anwar. He would then become the director of marketing, working with your current vice president of marketing, and able to fuse those two together. Paula and Lionel, as I mentioned, director of customer relations. And then your locational VPs will become managers. And this is going to be considered in the first 100 days from mid-August to about November or so. So right off the bat, when you come in there, we propose dismissing those executives, communicating what's going to be going on within the company. Transparency is really critical to acquisitions, ensuring that all employees are aware of what's going on to the best that is possible, so that there's not a lot of ambiguity within the situation, and so that it is able to occur the best way possible. So once the executives have been dismissed, it's going to be Mary's job then to go into each location, meet with those vice presidents in each location, and communicate to them specifically what the change is going to be. Now, their job title is going to need to change from vice president over to manager of each of those locations to go in line with your current Pegasus operations. Also, there's going to be less autonomy. As we implement our more of a lean operational process and our training processes, there's going to be more standardization across each location. So it's going to be really important the managers understand they'll have less autonomy, and hopefully they will be able to comply with that. If not, our anticipation is that Mary has 2 managers in waiting who would be able to take over for any VPs that don't feel like they would be a good fit for that current change-up. So once we have, as well, when we're at those locations, we're going to be talking with the vice presidents about who are their star pupils and who are the more expendable employees. We're looking at cutting 20% of employees from each of those locations in order to lean down the call centers. Their call center is not currently efficient, so removing the bottom 20% of employees at each location is our current proposal, as well as removing 2 of the current call center locations. The 2 that you had highlighted as having not ideal management, we recommend eliminating those 2, contacting the top 15 to 20% of those employees, and pitching to them that they come work at our current Pegasus locations, as we are anticipating taking on larger clients at those locations and are in need of skilled staff. So those employees would be a perfect fit for that transition to ensure that Pegasus on its own continues to grow as well. As well, merging the head offices. So the call-up head office has ample space right now, and is only a 20-minute drive from our current head office in Mississauga, while the Mississauga office is about at capacity. So we are going to be proposing and communicating to employees this time that our Pegasus head office employees will come merge with the call-up head office in Toronto, and we'll be operating out of that at the end of August time. At this time, we're also going to be getting the lean operations training. Now, this is really, again, a really important part of maximizing the opportunity here of the acquisition. We want to be sure that we are able to instill these lean operational tendencies into the call-up locations, because that's really what we thrive upon. Now, based on as I mentioned, there were some cuts, and there's severances that need to be paid. So any employee fired within the first year, their salaries still need to be paid out. So the salaries are going to be totaling, these numbers are in millions. So hourly wage employees, 14 million, executives 3 million, and the head office, general and admin expenses, are going to be shaving off about $3 million. So it's still going to hit the income statement in end of 2005, as well as the early start of 2006. We're going to really be able to reap the benefits of trimming these unnecessary and less productive employees from middle of 2006 onwards. So looking at the end of the first year, this is when we're really going to be focusing, and Mary's really going to be focusing her efforts on the implementation of a lean operating system. So that's going to involve going into each of the locations, going with Mary, bringing some of her current staff to ensure that these the systems and standardization that they have are set in place. This is going to include the incentive programs that they already have in place with employees in order to maximize the amount of time spent on their calls, while also trying to bring that customer responsiveness and reliability that Pegasus has over to call-up. Transferring the culture, that's going to be also a very big part, and a big part of that is ensuring that communication is present throughout. So that's going to be Mary and the other individual who's going to be Michelle, who's going to be working with her, really communicating thoroughly to everybody throughout all the locations. The new way of doing things, the benefits of doing things, what the advantages for the employees, also stressing that the cuts have already gone through, so there's less ambiguity when there's that kind of communication. And another incentive for the employees, all call-up employees are currently being paid 15% less than the Pegasus employees. Those salaries are going to be bumped up, so it's level across all of our locations, Pegasus and call-up. We are also going to, at the end of the first year, actually, never mind. Communication again. Yeah. The goal for all of our call-up locations is to have that one manager per 20 hourly employees at each location. That's our most efficient and effective distribution among managers and hourly workers, and we find that the current ratio of 1 to 12 is not overly efficient. So looking at year 2 and beyond, the start of year 2, this is when we're going to merge the names of the two companies. So Pegasus and Call-Up are all going to come under one name of Pegasus. All the locations will be run under the Pegasus name. That's going to be critical at the start of year 2, as well as evaluating the profitability. So continuing to measure how each location is doing, looking at key performance indicators, as well as near the end of year 1, near the beginning of year 2, there's 2 large contracts with Call-Up, and those are going to need to be renegotiated. Now we're going to have James. He's been very efficient and effective at negotiating all contracts for Pegasus. He's going to go in and do the negotiations with these large competitors, and it is our belief that he'll be able to renegotiate based on the improved operational responsiveness and operational effectiveness that we've been able to instill in Call-Up, that he'll be able to retain these contracts. And then again, like I said, monitoring key performance indicators. Now those would include the abandoned call ratio. This is something Pegasus really thrives on, and is something that we're going to be looking at monitoring throughout the implementation and in year 2 and beyond, trying to get a level to our Pegasus level, and also ensuring that our Pegasus abandoned call ratio can remain at where it's at or increase and improve. As well, the financial return per seat. So that is something that is one of the measures that you use to determine the profitability of each employee within your call centers. And that's going to be important to continue to monitor and ensure that Call-Up can increase their productivity per seat, because that's what was really lacking right now. The customer profitability rates, as well as employee retention. Once you have good employees, at least with Call-Up, their employee turnover is a little high. We are hoping that with the increased salaries, as well as the improved employee morale and culture, that the employees are going to be more receptive to staying. Because once you get good employees, it's really critical that you're able to keep them around. As well, at the end of year 2, potentially a company reevaluation with Pegasus and Co-op combined, looking at potentially IPOing if you were to further finance any future expansions. Now here we have a look at what the projected income statement is for the next 3 years. This is assuming even that the call-up portion of the business revenues stay constant for the next 3 years. We're really focused on shaving costs rather than increasing revenues in these next 3 years. We want to instill our operational tendencies into them and ensure that these are really concrete within the system. So this is a fairly conservative estimate with their revenue staying at about the same amount, while it also grows Pegasus's revenues at its current rate of about 15%. As you can see, the net margin in 2005 about 14%. That's because of you're paying those severance costs, but you can really see the benefits in 2007 of those severance costs fully being realized with net margins of about 24%. So some risks and the mitigation of these risks.
What was the time on that? So-
Yeah, we're good.
What's the time?
About a minute and a half.
Oh, you're okay, good, 2 minutes.
Okay, the first is call up a VP. The call up VP, so the VPs in each location, there's the chance that they might leave and that they might not be willing to work with less autonomy or to have a reduced job title even though their salary would stay the same. In this situation, Mary has noted that she has 2 managers in waiting who are more than well equipped to take on these locations, and that would mitigate that risk quite well. The second is that clients leave in the acquisition. This is about a medium likelihood, but it is our belief that with the increased operational efficiency and customer responsiveness, as well as the negotiation abilities of James, who's been proven in the past, that we will be able to renegotiate these contracts and that they will be happier in the long term once we are able to instill our operational tendencies towards them.
Now, taking a look at this challenge that you were faced with in integrating this new acquisition into your company and how to merge the 2 cultures. So the solution that we brought forth today is acting quickly by immediately transferring that culture and transferring those lean operations over. And by doing that first thing immediately, we believe that you'll be able to cut costs, increase your profitability, and allow this acquisition to propel you to the top of your industry. And at this point, we'd like to open the floor to any questions.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to skip the questions because we're getting tight on time. You want to hit the red button to solve it.